All right, everybody. We are back for WakeSurfology. This is episode 6. I'm Jake Breedlove.
I'm Dylan Ayala. I can't believe we're on episode 6 already, dude.
Yeah, I know, dude. I think we need to get some different things rolling.
Yeah, maybe some more guests. If you're ever in Austin and you want to come on our podcast and you're a wake surfer, come on by. I think we want to do it in person, so.
Yeah, if you know that you're going to be coming through at any point in time, just please hit us up because we would love to pick your brain, and I know other people want to know, your experiences with wake surfing, just like, we have interests in not just our own, but others as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's starting to warm up here in Austin, too. It's getting hot. Last week or two was kind of rainy, but it's been nice out there. The water's like, my boat read 87.
It's finally like a nice, enjoyable weather.
But luckily, dude, this last winter was so warm, like compared to like other winters. It never got super cold. It was cold, but it wasn't super cold. And we had talked about how it was going to maybe be super hot this summer. But it is hot, but it's not unbearable. Obviously, it's not midsummer yet, but
yeah, I do kind of feel like we didn't have a cold winter, but we haven't gotten hit by that heat yet.
True.
It's
it could
warm.
get bad.
Yeah, it's warm, but it's not there yet.
Yeah. The other thing, too, is I saw Lake Travis is starting to fill up, too, so that's good.
That is good, yeah. Some constant rain will do that for sure.
Yeah. But today we're going to be doing a Q&A. We got some questions from you guys, so we're going to go through them and just answer some questions that we got from you guys. You ready?
And then after, we'll probably answer some that we came up with ourselves. So
yeah. Yes, sir. Let's do it.
Alrighty.
You want me to do the first one?
Yeah.
Okay, so our first question is, what is your favorite trick while riding switch?
Favorite trick while riding switch. I can only do so much.
Same.
So I guess I have to say the one that I love doing that I can land is just a switch, like grabbed body varial.
That is sick.
Like an aired grabbed body varial. I just learned how to do that.
Yeah.
And just started doing that. But
yeah. Yeah, you go big on it too. It looks so good.
It just feels natural. It's strange, but I'll have to dive more into that later.
Mm-hmm.
What about you? What is your...
I have a couple. The first one would be like a switch alley-oop. I really need to work on my switch more, but heel side. And then recently I've been riding toe side switch a little bit and just kind of working on my airs. And those have been really fun, actually. I think that I could get those a lot bigger. And it just feels like relearning again. And it kind of gives you an idea of, like, what other people are feeling when they first hop on the board. Mm-hmm. Because, like, riding switch toe side is just, like, restarting. And it's so hard. But, yeah, I really like the switch air toe side.
Okay, yeah. Well, I was just thinking, too, when you mentioned switch toe side, that's another thing. Like, what is your favorite trick? Switch toe side and then switch backside.
Yeah, switch backside, definitely the switch alley-oop. I don't have a lot of tricks switch, so that would have to be it. And then switch toe side, yeah, same. Switch air toe side. What about you?
So the only things that I've never tried anything switch toe side yet, actually.
It's so fun,
like,
dude.
Just carving, maybe a little air, but
yeah.
I've only done it maybe one time, which sounds crazy, but I need to get into that more.
Yeah, a lot of people are doing it now. Like Chad Carlson, he's so good. Switch toe side. And same with Keenan Flegel. They both can do like switch big spins on their toe side. And that's just crazy, dude.
Yeah, well, and that brings up another question for me and like other riders too. I know what I think, but what do you think about like one being harder than the other? Do you think it's switch toe side or switch backside?
If I was brand new and had never rode either, I would probably say, dude, that's so tough.
It's tough just because you learn the way you learned and like you progressed at the tricks you know how to do now at the time that you learn how to do those tricks. I don't know. It's just very specific.
The only thing I would say is when you're riding heel side switch, you kind of are more comfortable on that side of the wave because that's your regular side. Whereas like when you go to this opposite side of the wave and you're riding switch, not only are you riding a new foot position, you're also riding the other side of the wave. So it's a toss-up, though. I'm not sure. What do you think?
No, I definitely agree. Like when I think about it, I definitely think that switch toe side is harder than switch backside.
Agree.
And that for me, that's just because I've only done that one time, maybe twice, and I haven't tried much. But I don't know. I guess just because, you're not just switching your stance, but you're switching the wave too, and you're having to track up and pump up and down the face of a wave that you haven't before.
Yeah, it's tough.
Okay, so another question that we have, this is the second question, is what are some of the best exercises to help with wake surfing, or also cross training that can help with your wake surfing? I know there are a lot of different things that I like to do. What are a couple things that you do, Dylan?
Yeah, I haven't used a whole lot of balance boards. I've used them a little and jumped on the trampoline with you a little for like off-water training, but I haven't done a whole lot of that. I've done a lot of weightlifting and like built up the muscles that I used to have actually a trainer in Arizona that would train me specifically for wake surfing, and it was really fun. And like I noticed before I started going to him, I would be sore from wake surfing. Like my knees would be sore, my lower back would be sore if I was doing a lot of like big airs. And then once I started training with him and really focused on building like my core and my legs and just all around muscles for wake surfing, I was never sore from wake surfing, So that was really cool to be able to not get sore from wake surfing and like build the muscles so I don't get sore while I wake surf.
So whenever, like you say, you would get sore from wake surfing before having training like that.
Yeah.
What kind of soreness would you get, and like when would you experience being sore?
Yeah, so it wasn't necessarily like a muscle sore that you would think of after you weight train. It's like a achy sore. Like I don't know if you felt it, but like my knees would kind of hurt, like right here, like kind of like tendons almost.
Okay.
Like that sore. And then like my lower back, that same feeling right there. But then I just like built the muscles around like my knees or my ankles, and that way I wasn't like, obviously you're not really going to get hurt while you wake surf, but it does take a toll on your body doing airs and doing big tricks. So like building everything around that so that you can do that really helped me. Do you ever get sore?
Yeah, I definitely get sore. I don't do the type of like weight training or exercises that you do. Like I generally just do like day-to-day active things. And I mean, I do some like body weight training and stuff like that, but besides that, there's not a ton that I do. But to answer your question, yeah, my knees do get achy, not really like sore, because there's more so joints and tendons in there instead of muscle.
Yeah.
So you do kind of, it makes sense to me hearing you say you got to like work the muscles around it and stuff to kind of improve.
Yeah, it really helped me a lot too. And like his theory, and I've kind of stuck with his theory too, is like you never really want the weight training to be taking away from your wake surfing. Like the sport is wake surfing, and that's what you're training for. So like if you weight train super hard and you get hurt doing that, or you're super sore, then you don't, like he didn't want me to be sore while I was wake surfing. So, but like every time I go wake surfing, I was no longer like being tired from wake surfing. So it really helped me to improve each session because I wasn't like feeling that pain in my knees or my lower back.
No, yeah, that all makes a lot of sense. Like when you said the soreness isn't really the type of soreness that you would think, but it's more so like an achy feeling. That made me think of, how my knees feel sometimes, which isn't a great thing when I think about it, but at least I know now how I can improve that.
Yeah, you could improve it quick too. Like it'd only take 2 weeks and you wouldn't be getting sore from wake surfing. We might have to hit the gym again together. We went once.
Yeah, we got it. But no, I've noticed too that if I do ever have achy knees, it's when I don't do anything when they get more achy. And like when I do something active where I'm working them, they feel fine. They feel great. Like if I have achy knees and then I jump in the water and start surfing, they feel great. It's gone.
Yeah.
It's a strange thing. So I just have to keep working those muscles, I guess.
Yeah, because you don't want it to like hinder you from progressing. But I know you do a lot of off water training. Like, what would you suggest?
There are a lot of different things that I like to do. Skateboarding is always really fun. I don't necessarily, go hard and jump stairs and hit rails and stuff like that. But just, hopping on a skateboard, riding around, maybe doing some ollies and stuff like that is great. Some shoves sometimes, that's great. And if that's still a little too dangerous or like you feel uncomfortable doing that because you can still get hurt doing that, I like to throw just a skateboard deck, like sometimes even on the concrete, but in the grass or like on the carpet, and definitely on the trampoline. Just because it helps you learn the landings, it helps you learn, rotations of the board when it's in the air, and the amount of pressure you need to have on which foot, just different things like that. You just naturally pick up on stuff. And then some other cool ways that you can cross-train are balance boards, of course. There are tons of different kinds of balance boards. The Endo board is super common and a great one to use. And then I've seen other companies that have ones that help with rotations and 360s and stuff like that, which can also help with shoves too. But all of those things are really helpful. And you should definitely try to get into something that you enjoy doing, even if it's, I don't know. I'm an active person, so I have to keep moving. So I find enjoyment in just moving in general.
Yeah.
So for me, like, I don't have to be on a skateboard or whatever. Like, I grew up doing a lot of, flips and stuff on the trampoline and on the ground, or, doing parkour and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So just honestly, anything off water that's just easy to do real quick, you can do it kind of whenever type of thing, is always going to be helpful, especially if it has to do with jumping or using your feet muscles and stuff like that.
Yeah, anytime you can get on a board, like, it's obviously going to help you. And like you said, just even moving your body and getting comfortable, like being active, that's all going to help. It's not going to hurt, so I mean, it's a good thing to do.
Yeah, you'll often see me at competitions, like I'll be jumping around.
Yeah.
Like I'll literally just be standing there doing squat jumps or something. And that is for fun most of the time.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes I might be sore and I'm trying to, relax my legs a little bit from being achy, but most of the time it's just for fun to release some energy.
Yeah, nice.
Also, something else that's really good for cross training is anything that has to do with balance, and that's like another thing that I learned through doing flips and stuff like that and riding a skateboard. Just trying to make sure your feet are in one spot and doing different jumps and stuff like that, and trying to keep your balance will always work the muscles in your feet, which help with pumping mainly, and then just like control when you land a trick or something, or need that extra bit of strength to get the rotation of a difficult trick or even an easy trick.
And now that you say that too, about like balance and just thinking back to you talking about jumping on a trampoline, like I grew up jumping on trampolines so much. And honestly, I feel like it really helps with like timing of jumping. You got to get good at the timing of jumping on a trampoline. And I feel like it does carry over to wake surfing, even just like the jumping part of it, like timing to jump at a certain time and just like everything working together, because like if you jump on a trampoline and your chest falls, you're not going to get as much air. But like if everything comes up, then you're going to get good air on a trampoline, and same on a wake surf. So
no, yeah,
it's interesting.
That makes a lot of sense. You don't just learn to jump really high on a trampoline, but then also like you learn what it feels like to have time in the air. And it's like such a short amount of time, but when you do it a lot, you obviously have more time in the air. And when you do have more time in the air, that's a very specific time when you're supposed to like, track your board or, just be more aware, when you're in the air.
Yeah.
Because you got to watch the rotation. You got to know how far you are from hitting the water, or Do you need to lift your knees up more? Just
Yeah.
different things like that.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I think anytime you're moving your body or anything that involves balance, like you said, or jumping, or really just moving your body, it's all going to help, you know? Question number 3. Okay, I got this one specifically for Jake, and he doesn't know it yet. So this one was asked by Jonathan Matthews from Blue Surf, and he's asking you, does Jake feel like his mustache gives him special powers?
Okay, that's a very valid question, I'd say. You know, whenever it's got its curls going, its wings, it definitely helps me boost.
Yeah.
But right now, it's holding me down.
Yeah.
No,
That's funny.
no, it definitely helps me with all of my tricks.
You feel cooler?
It's not that I feel cooler. I just know that it helps me with all of my tricks.
Yeah.
And if I'm not sticking that trick, it's still helping me. Just know that. Okay?
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Jonathan, for that question.
He put JK in parentheses, by the way. Okay, well, now I'll go to a real one. What tips do you have for riding switch?
When I first started riding switch, I kind of noticed I had some of the same problems. Like, because I'm so used to standing regular and facing a certain direction, especially, when you're on that wave, my body was just naturally wanting to go back to that. Even though my feet were kind of locked in one spot, my chest wanted to open up to the boat. And that really hindered me from doing a lot of tricks like the switch alley-oop. I still struggle with that one, and I'm still trying to figure it out. But whenever you have your shoulders like opening up to the boat, you kind of have yourself like winded up in a way, if you think about it, and you need to be like unwinded. So whenever like I see people, just in the regular stance with their chest to the boat, and they don't have their shoulders pointed at the wave, like they usually nosedive, or they aren't able to get the rotations that they need for like a 360 or even just simple carving sometimes.
Yeah.
And so that was my biggest thing, is making sure that I wasn't opening to the boat too much.
Yeah, too much.
Yeah, not too much. Like, you can do it a little bit, or it's going to happen naturally. Like, even in your regular stance, like if you are good about keeping your shoulders at the wave, then it's going to help you with rotations. But, you are still going to open up a little bit to the boat. But, fast forward, but all that to say, essentially you want to try to do the same thing, switch, as you would when you're regular. All of the same fundamentals, and all of those usually go out the door when you decide to start learning a different stance, if you've already learned something and are really good at like the original stance. But just because you think, oh, I already know how to surf, I have this level of experience, and you may not be thinking those exact things, but your body is feeling that.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. Because you imagine like what you want your riding to be like, and when you go to switch, it's like we were talking about earlier, it's like relearning everything. You got to relearn everything. And my biggest piece of advice would be to just keep doing it. Like, it can be super easy to just switch back to regular because you're not like doing the level of tricks that you want to do, because you're used to doing harder tricks on your regular stance. So yeah, just stay riding switch. Like, maybe even plan out a whole day where you only allow yourself to ride switch, because it's really just about time doing it, like the amount of time that you spend doing it. And if you do it enough, you're going to get better at it. So that would be my biggest piece of advice, is just make sure that you're actually doing it. And also, like you said, start with the fundamentals, like an ollie and switch air and just chop hop, floater, and just take your time and also have fun with it too. Because like riding switch toe side, at first it was just like super frustrating, but like I've been having so much fun doing it because it's just relearning, and you have to just be okay with relearning and taking your time to learn those tricks again.
Yeah, if you think about it too, like everybody has the hand that they write with. But when they try to go right with the other hand, it's like stiff or it can't move fluently or naturally as your other hand can. And so when you switch up the stance, you're going to feel stiff, like you can't do certain things. You're going to make a movement and then you're going to go the complete opposite direction or do the opposite thing you were thinking.
Yeah.
So you just got to like do it, like you said, just repetition, do it over and over. Try to really pay attention to what worked when you were a regular stance and how you can mirror that image over to switch stance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because your brain wants you to be like as efficient as possible. So like think about trying to write with your left hand, like you're saying, you're gonna be like, okay, I could write this down so much faster if I just switch hands. I'm just gonna do it, you know? So just like that's why you gotta stick to the plan. And if you're writing switch that day, you're writing switch. I mean, you could do half and half, but just make sure that you're actually getting the switch writing in. There's no really secret to writing switch. It's really just about doing it and actually following through with doing it.
Yeah, and pay attention to what you're doing wrong and what you can do right.
Yeah, for sure.
Because you know how to do those things, you do them in a different stance.
Yeah, and it'll take time to build up to that, but eventually you'll get there as long as you actually ride switch. And that's what I really wish I would have done is rode more switch when I first started. But I mean, we say that all the time, but I really wish that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, that's what we wish, but don't let that discourage you. Dylan and I, we've basically only practiced, just a few months of switch riding and like from scratch, basically, just with our previous knowledge of wake surfing and skills of wake surfing. And now, we have a handful of tricks or we're able to actually ride comfortably switch.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and you can learn it pretty fast. It takes some practice, but I was actually out with my dad last weekend, and I asked him if he had ever rode switch, and he said no. And, like, his first try was, like, he didn't get up. Second try, didn't get up. But then, like, third, fourth try, he started getting up. And then eventually, like, actually let go of the rope. First day riding switch.
Sweet.
That might not always be the case, but, like, you can learn it. And he is also at the very more on the beginner's side. He can do like a 360, but like he's learning as he's learning like 360s and stuff. So that's so cool.
That's awesome. That's pretty good for how, the amount of time that he had
Yeah.
switch. So,
Yeah. He let go of the rope first day. It was sick.
That's awesome.
Next question is how to transition from revert 180 back to your regular stance without putting on the brakes. So
let's slow that down real quick. Because
I was going to break down what she's saying.
Yeah, I'll
Like,
let you do that.
Revert 180, so she's saying, say you're regular, then that means the tail of your board would be in front, so your right foot is in front now. So your revert, and revert is when the board is backwards. So she wants to go from revert back to her regular stance. And she's asking how to do it without putting on the brakes. There's a lot of different ways that you could do this and different rotations that you could do to get out. But the most basic one and the one that most people learn first is really just 180 or say your revert and going back to regular, rotating into the wave or towards the boat. So not to blind, but in towards the boat. And I would say like there's about 3 things that I would really focus on. Number 1, being comfortable revert. You don't want to be worried about getting out of revert too fast. So really make sure that you're comfortable in that position. The second thing is you might practice with the rope of like being revert and practicing getting back to regular by just switching the rope from your right hand to your left and just trying to not use the rope as much as you can. Just use that to come around. And then the third thing, if once you got that down, you're good riding revert and you're good like getting around using the rope, then just take that same exact thing and really just focus on as you're coming back to regular, getting your right shoulder and your right hip up and around the wave, and then letting that left shoulder come around. And then as soon as it comes around, getting low, realigning with the wave. What do you think? It's very hard to explain without like it's hard to say, but it would make sense more if you saw it.
No, I understand what you're saying, and like for the viewers too, and myself, we just have to think about what you're saying and just try to imagine it because it's hard to put like a picture to words. But with what you're saying,
Yeah.
we are able to
Especially
put a
if you
picture with
don't-
it. You just got to take a second to do it.
Yeah, especially if you don't know the terminology.
Yeah,
That's the hardest part.
I mean, even for us, when we talk about different stances and different tricks and stuff, we get confused.
Yeah.
So there's not a problem with that at all. But I think what you said makes sense. That kind of goes along with what I was thinking. Like I always kind of use my right arm. Like after I do 180, let's say, my right arm usually comes down to like my left hip.
Mm-hmm.
And then I usually kind of, when I'm ready to go back, I usually just lift up my right arm to back where I usually keep it, which is, out. I don't know how to describe where
your
where
right
it naturally
hip was.
sits. Yeah, my right hip, basically. And that kind of starts the rotation back. In addition, I do that in addition to kind of standing up again, which gives me a little lift, a little pop off the surface of the water, which helps, the fins catch a little bit, helps the board rotate you a little bit more. But that's kind of how I would go about it.
Yeah. And when you say when we say getting up and around the top, that's because if you're trying to do it like in the flat of the wave or the bottom of the wave, you're kind of losing a lot of power of the wave. Whereas if you get up and around the top or the peak, the rotation's a lot easier because you have the power of the wave. A lot of people, if they try to get it to rotate back, say in the flatter part of the wave, they'll catch that toe side edge or the nose of the board as it comes around, just because they're not rotating around the peak of the wave. So yeah, getting that shoulder and that hip up and then getting really light really helps with that rotation.
Yeah, and then also too, if you're coming down the wave with a lot of speed, like it sounds like, you didn't want to hit the brakes is what they said. So it sounds like they're landing their 180 kind of at the top, coming down the face a little bit. So it sounds to me, I'm just going off what they said, but it sounds like they are comfortable riding revert a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
They just don't know how to get back. And I've noticed in the past for me, sometimes I've done a 180 and I've come down the face of the wave. And then once I got to the bottom, my fins caught me and spun me the same direction I was doing the 180. So almost into
blind.
like reverse. Yeah, blind.
Yeah.
And I wasn't meaning to do that. And I think that happened just because I had initially just over-rotated the 180, landed, couldn't get myself back, rode down the face, and then once my fins hit the flat water, they were just angled enough with the tail of my board pointing out, and it just whipped me around real quick.
Yeah.
And, all of that was hard to imagine, I'm sure, too. But, yeah, I mean, just watch out from the flats. Like, the flats are going to be more difficult to make that transition in. And then when you are coming down the face of the wave, just try to be heavy on your back foot and your heels.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that makes sense. Hopefully that helps. It's a lot to explain, but
You may be confused for
Yeah,
another
hopefully
hour or
not.
so, but you'll figure it out.
Which rider has your favorite style and why? You better
Which
say
rider
me.
has
You
my
better say
favorite
me. You better say me. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Not Dylan. No. I mean, I actually do really like your style.
Thank you.
For the
Thank
record, specifically your back bigs. They're super lofty. But I have to say Keenan Flegel, he is my favorite rider. Mainly because of his backside tricks, his heel side tricks. That's insanely impressive, and he also does them really big. And then also too, he rides surf and skim, and he's one rider that I like to watch ride skim because he goes big in that too.
Yeah.
Going big is like my favorite thing. So when I watch other people do it, it's just like, I don't know, adding to the fire, just like making it more exciting and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's hard to go big for sure. And yeah, like you said, it's just cool. But my favorite riders are, I don't think I have one. I have three. So Keenan, like you said, Keenan Flegel. And they're all for different reasons. Like, he's very smooth, he goes big, and he just has like super intense style, which is sick. And then you as well, because you go super big, but you're like slower, like you're really smooth and like take your time, and it's like super flowy. But I really like your like frontside 180s. And then what?
I just thought that was so funny. And then I like your frontside 180s.
Yeah, no, that's probably my favorite trick of yours is the frontside 180 and the passion pop. Magic trick too, sick. And then third is Ashley Kidd because she's just sick. She goes so big. Her frontside 180s are super sick too, and she's just very intense. Even like every single tricks that she does is super big. And yeah, those are probably my favorite of the. If I could have three.
Okay, yeah. I was like, you only said two, but one of you mentioned me.
Yeah.
But okay. What about like, how would you describe like their style? Like either Ashley's or mine or Keenan's. Like, what about the style do you like really appreciate?
Yeah, I think you could put the three of you guys in the same category of being super intense, like very big tricks, and then also at the same time being smooth. It doesn't look like it's like a robot riding on a board when you guys ride. Like some people can do super cool tricks, but they just look kind of like meh, like kind of just lame. Like this is like not too much style, but the three of you guys really have a lot of style and just go big. But yeah, what about you? What do you like about like Keenan's style?
Well, and like you said, I mean, I do like other styles. But yeah, with Keenan's style, I definitely like, the exaggerations of some of his tricks. Like he has some really awesome bottom turn snaps. And that's like one thing that I really appreciate is the surf style. So doing different surf style tricks are really cool to watch because I know, not just seeing them is really cool, but doing them and feeling them is like a whole nother level. It's just, I don't know, there's something about the feeling of surf style and the different maneuvers that are kind of in that category that are really satisfying to do and watch just all together.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, that's very true.
one of the other questions that Dylan and I came up with was, who taught you how to wake surf? I guess it could be more than one person, or, I mean, like, at least for me, like, I had the one person teach me how, and then I had the one person teach me fundamentals and just different things kind of combined. But what about you? Like, who taught you, or how did that look for you?
Yeah, I started off like when I was 15 or 16, and just like my dad and my dad's friends, maybe my mom, taught me how to get up. And then, like you said, yeah, I had like somebody who really taught me the fundamentals. And the fundamentals are so important because without those, it's so hard to improve. You'll plateau. But Angie and Mike Violent, they live in Arizona. They had a wake surf school there. And I actually met them on a boat demo and then got connected with them. They got me into competing. And then from there, I started coaching with somebody named Mike Escorza. And he's super sick. Have you seen him?
I have, yeah.
Yeah, he's really cool. He became one of my good friends too. And he has a really sick, like surfy style. And so, yeah, I took some coaching from him, probably like 5 hours, and then maybe like 3 hours from Mike and Angie. And those are pretty much who taught me how to wake surf.
When you first got into it, like, did you ever have a time before wake surfing where you got up on a different board or some other type of water sport? Like, did you have any pre-existing knowledge of how to get up on a board or any type of water sport?
No. I was actually, oddly enough, like kind of scared to wake surf and wakeboard when I was little. Like my parents had gotten a boat and I was like, I'm not going to do it. And I was just so stubborn. Like even I wanted to do it, but I was like so stubborn that I wanted to like stick by my not wanting to do it. But then eventually I was like 15 and I was like, okay, I'll try wakeboarding. So I got up wakeboarding and I loved it. And then soon after that, I tried wake surfing, and then we went to Florida and I did ocean surfing. I love that. And that's really where my love for wake surfing started, was after that trip.
That's really cool. That when you said like you were so adamant about not doing it for the longest time, that's kind of how I felt because I had so many people like encouraging me to do it or
Yeah.
telling me I should do it, and for some reason I was like, well, I don't know if I want to do it.
Yeah.
But it was just like a weird vibe, weird feeling. And well, I mean, I did have a kind of scary experience that, like, technically my first time trying to wakeboard, I didn't get up. I just got water in my face, and I hated that. I was maybe like 4, but I didn't try it until, like, again, until age 9. And I was like, not about it.
Yeah.
And my brother finally convinced me to do it. But
That's funny. One other thing that I'll add too is when I was little, totally spaced this, but my brother and I both tried kneeboarding, and we were so little that we actually got flipped over on the kneeboard, and we are like trying to keep our head up above the water. All we had to do was unstrap the thing, but we were just so little that, like,
you didn't
you
think
know, it's
about
like,
that.
yeah, your parents want you to do it because they know you'll love it. But like after that, it's like, no, I can't do that. You guys made me scared of kneeboarding.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's funny how your parents like kind of know that you'll like it. Like you think about like a little kid now, you're like, if you try it, you'll love it. But it's just
Yeah.
getting them to try it, and they just knew the whole time.
Well, and if it goes wrong that first time, you're walking away like, great.
Yeah,
Like,
you're like, oh, they're
the
never
one
gonna
time,
do it.
the one time that they tried it.
And the odds of it actually going bad are so low.
Even though it usually goes bad.
Yeah.
Like, we each had like a somewhat traumatic experience our
That's
first
true.
time, I think, and that's why we were so adamant about not doing it until
Yeah.
we did.
So who taught you then, like from the beginning, and then did you get coaching?
So my brother was the one that taught me how to get my feet on a board. I like didn't want to put my feet in the boots of a wakeboard because that's what I had tried first, and that hurt because of my traumatic experience. So he was telling me, just use the wake skate. Your feet aren't going to be strapped in. And he also like set the board like on the edge of the sand. So the board was just kind of like floating barely, but it was staying in place because one rail or tail or one end of the board was sitting in the sand. And so I was really little and light. I was either 8 or 9 years old, and I was able to just kind of stand on the board on the backside that was sitting in the sand, and my brother was on the jet ski, and he just hit it. And I just got low, like on a skateboard, because I knew how to do that, and I was off. And I was like, this is awesome. And I still didn't know how to get up when, like, once I had gone out and had fallen, but I quickly learned that, maybe like a week or 2 after that. But fast forward, specifically for wake surfing, the person that taught me how to do that, I can't say someone taught me how to get up on a wake surfboard. No, that's a lie. What am I saying? My brother did technically teach me how to get up on a wake surf. It was mainly just kind of telling me, like, so, you don't have boots and you're laying in the water. How do you manage to get the board flipped up? He got me through that whole process, and I figured that out. And then there was another rider, and this is the guy that, kind of like sparked my interest for wake surfing, because my brother kind of hyped him up. But it was Chase Hazen, and he was, a pro rider on Lake Austin. And if you knew about wake surfing, you probably knew about him. But we had one lesson with him, and his whole thing was going big and doing big airs and stuff. So I can say that's where my foundation came from for going big. But his tip that's kind of always stuck with me was, using your arms, throwing your arms up. Like, if you pay attention to basketball players, they don't, shoot the ball, with their hands down by their knees.
Yeah.
Like, they throw their arms up and then shoot, because it helps them, get some height, and get the ball going farther. So throwing your arms up always helps you go big, even if you have, bad form for the most part. I was first trying airs at the lesson that we took from him, and I had terrible form. I had no idea what I was doing, but just that one little tip of throwing my arms up did help, get me started.
Yeah.
On trying to go bigger or get the fins out of the water.
Yeah, you're just like throwing your arms up. You're like, it's not working.
Another thing that he mentioned to me too is like, don't worry about falling or whatever.
Yeah.
Just try to like find that feeling of getting yourself higher and out of the water.
Yeah, too many people are worried about landing the trick, and like you see it in specifically like frontside 180s or even 360s. We'll do the 180 for example. They won't get the full rotation because they're so worried about getting it back to regular that they end up falling because they're not over rotating it. You know, they're not getting the full rotation. Whereas, like you said, if you just learn how to get that full rotation first, then you'll get that feeling like you just said.
Yeah, and that's another reason why going big can be so helpful. Like you can see both ends of the spectrum. Like you don't just want to know what it feels like to get a 180 40% around. You need to get the 180, 100%, which will be a full 180. You don't just want to get 90 degrees and then try to stomp the rest of the 180 or just try to ride it out because it's not going to work.
Yeah.
You got to get there 100%.
All right, well, that's all the questions that we have for today. Obviously, there's a lot of questions that people might have, so if you have those, leave them in the comments or message us on WakeSurfology. But what did you think about all these questions?
Yeah, I really liked some of the questions that y'all had. We really want to hear more because we know that y'all do have questions, whether you know it or not. You just got to, dig deeper and let us know what you're thinking because, everyone has questions. They might have the same ones that you have, so don't be afraid to ask it. We'll do our best to answer. But, yeah, just moving forward, looking to the next week or so before we close this podcast out. Dylan, what are you kind of looking forward to that has to do with either this podcast or your wake surfing or wake surfing in general?
Yeah, the thing I'm most looking forward to in wake surfing is just kind of summer. I look forward to summer all year, and now it's like finally getting here. I'm looking forward to more people getting out on the water. I'm starting to see like in colder states, people are now getting out. So it's cool to see, and I think that a lot of people are improving at a fast rate, even like the people that just do it for fun. That level has increased a lot. So I'm really excited to see how much people will improve. I mean, through this podcast, people learn, and through like social media and just seeing people on the lake. But yeah, I'm just excited to see people out on the water. What about you?
So you basically just told me like the whole summer. So
that's my bad.
I didn't want to. No, that's okay. But yeah, I definitely agree. I think too, seeing people out there and hopefully seeing more people get out and wake surfing and just seeing if any of y'all watching, like if y'all progress at all, we'd be happy to hear, if things are getting better or if what we're talking about has been helping y'all. I think that's going to be really cool for the future when we can get more of y'all's opinions to kind of, help anyone else that's listening and watching, but because y'all's questions might be the same as other people's. And then in general, I'm just excited to keep practicing with you and work on our own riding because nothing is more fun than, trying to learn new tricks and landing them eventually. It is very fun. So
yeah. And as you said that, like practicing a lot, something that came to my mind is like, do you ever get the feeling of when you're riding a lot, like once you hop on your board, say it's like your first set of the day, you feel like in the flow almost, or like the difference between like not riding for a week compared to riding every day, like that feeling of hopping on the board, it feels like it's just like there, but sometimes if you skip a week or you skip a month, like it's so frustrating sometimes.
It's a natural feeling.
Yeah, it just feels like you're like connected, and I love that feeling.
Yeah, you want to be connected with your board and the boat and the wave and the water and
it's just like
all of that.
Everything just works together.
Yeah.
It's like the weirdest feeling. Like even on your pumps, on your airs, like the timing, everything's perfect. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Yes, sir.
I'm always chasing that feeling.
Yeah, like the second you make contact with your board and foot, you just like mold and like blend into it.
Yeah,
and then you're surfing and it's just all one.
Yeah, it even makes learning new tricks easier too, in my opinion, like that feeling, because you're just more confident, like if you're confident doing or trying tricks, you ride better. So like it just is like it snowballs when you are riding a lot,
If this feeling sounds super vague as we discuss this, it means you haven't found it enough yet, and you need
It's
to
like
go explore it.
It's like a runner's high. Just a good feeling. It just feels like you're connected to the board. It feels like everything is clicking. You may not be landing all of your tricks, but like your pumps feel good. Everything just feels good.
Alrighty, well, he said it, Dylan said it, and it's like a runner's high, so go find that amazing surfing feeling, y'all.
Wake surfing high. Go get that wake surfing high.
Let's go. This is Wake Surfology, episode 6, closing out.
Peace.
Peace.